Imagine a room where time itself stops. No one moves. The air is heavy with secrets. The entire room freezes, like a photograph capturing a truth no one dared to face. Who could shake a corporate empire with a single blueprint? This is *Whisper Fable*, and today, we uncover a story that will grip your heart and refuse to let go. No one moved. The entire room froze, like time itself had paused. The new CEO stood silently, eyes locked on an architectural blueprint that had no signature. He scanned the room with razor focus and said, "Bring me the real architect now." But when the janitor, yes, the woman everyone ignored for years, raised her hand, a chill ran through everyone's spine. Humiliation would come before glory. This is the story no one dared to tell until now. Picture this: New York, just waking up. The mirrored elevator doors open onto the 34th floor of Callister & Rowe, one of the most prestigious architecture firms in the country. High heels tap against marble. Ties are adjusted in a rush. Word spreads like wildfire. The new CEO is here. And not just any CEO. Damon Prescott, former military officer, self-made real estate mogul, known for firing entire departments with a 3-line email, a man who tolerates no weakness and hates mediocrity. He walks through the main hallway like a general. The boardroom is full, execs already lined up in tension, their smiles tight and strained. Without so much as a greeting, Damon opens a leather case and pulls out a single sheet. He lays it on the glass table. It's a design, breathtaking, modern, bold, perfect, a blueprint for a sustainable innovation center, combining art with functionality in a way that stuns the room. He runs a finger along the lines, like he's touching a relic, then looks around with ice in his voice. "This wasn't done by any of you, was it?" No one answers. The silence is thick, heavy, like wet cement setting. Find me who did this now. I don't want guesses or interns playing around. I want the real architect. 5 minutes. Inspecting a battlefield. The team exchanges panicked glances. One director clears his throat. A female executive bites her lip. Another manager starts checking his phone, pretending to scroll. And then, from the back of the room, comes the faintest sound, a broom sliding across the polished floor. All heads turn. A woman in a navy blue janitor's uniform stands still, wearing rubber gloves and a headband. Her eyes are calm. Too calm. She stops sweeping, stands tall, and slowly, she raises her hand. "I did it. I'm the one who designed that." Can you feel the shock rippling through that room? A janitor claiming genius? This is *Whisper Fable*, and we're just getting started. Stay with us as we unravel a story that challenges everything you think you know about talent and recognition. Time stops. The silence after the janitor's words is deafening. The executives look at each other, like they're part of a collective hallucination. The woman who claimed credit for the blueprint is the same woman who cleans the windows, scrubs the restrooms, and mops the office floors every night. The same one who arrives before anyone else, leaves after everyone is gone, and never asks for anything. They don't even know her name. Damon stares at her, like he's trying to solve a riddle that doesn't compute. He walks over slowly, holding the sheet with the design, and holds it up in front of her face. These curves, the light treatment, this airflow through the solar glass panels. You designed this? She nods without hesitation. Every line. A manager blurts out from the far end of the table, "This has to be a joke." Maybe she saw it online. This kind of concept doesn't just come from someone pushing a mop. "I didn't copy anything," as she replies, her tone calm but direct. I designed it myself. I worked on it during my night shifts, after everyone had gone home. I used old sketch paper from the storage closet and drew it by hand. Then I scanned and printed it. Sandra, the firm's HR director, folds her arms, trying to mask her disbelief. With all due respect, you're a janitor. You don't have the credentials for something like this. I do, the woman replies, looking directly at her. You just never asked. Damon turns to the rest of the room. None of you knew about this? Awkward silence. A young analyst finally mutters, she hangs out on the design floor at night. We've seen random sketches left on the whiteboards. We thought it was, I don't know, doodling. Damon looks back at her. What's your name? She slowly pulls off one of her gloves, as if revealing part of herself for the first time. Joyce Miller, architecture graduate from MIT. And yes, I created that design. Her name hits the room like an explosion. One director chokes on his coffee. Sandra goes pale, but Damon doesn't move. He just stares at her, like he's finally found what he was looking for. Take a seat, he says, motioning to the central chair at the table. I want to hear everything. And as she sits down, for the first time, someone at that company finally listens to Joyce. Joyce sits slowly, not out of hesitation, but with the steady grace of someone crossing a forbidden line. The room buzzes with an invisible tension. Nobody types, no phones buzz. Even the receptionist behind the glass wall pauses mid-keystroke when she sees Joyce sitting at the head of the table. Damon leans forward, hands clasped, eyes locked on her. I want to understand something. How does someone with your background end up here? She inhales deeply. No dramatics, just truth. After I lost my daughter in a car accident, I couldn't go back to being who I was, as she says quietly. She was 6 years old. Her name was Lauren. At the time, I had a private firm, big contracts, life was stable. Then she was gone, and I was gone with her. I sold everything. I just wanted silence. A quiet gasp ripples through the room. She looks up again. Her voice doesn't shake, and it doesn't have to. Working here as a janitor gave me space to survive. I didn't have to talk to anyone or explain why I wasn't the bright architect anymore. But the love for architecture never left. It just got quieter. Sandra jumps in again, trying to find ground. But why didn't you mention your degree during hiring? We had a process. Joyce's answer cuts through like glass. I filled everything out honestly, but no one reads the resumes of cleaning staff. You skimmed, stamped, and moved on. Damon looks around. His expression hasn't changed, but something deep beneath it has. You created this project as a personal exercise? No, Ishi says. It was a real proposal. I studied the internal designs that got rejected and reimagined them, using the floors I saw. I printed it anonymously to see if it would be judged for its quality, not its author. He cracks a small, tight smile. Well, it spoke. He stands, walking toward the floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the city, then turns back to the room. Let's get something clear. Joyce, you're no longer on the janitorial staff. As of today, you're officially part of the design team. And as for the rest of you, you've just been outclassed by someone who didn't even have a seat at this table. It hits like a gavel. Some try to object. No words come, because the truth is sitting right in front of them in the form of a woman they had never truly seen. And for the first time in a long time, Joyce smiles. That morning, the story travels fast across the floors of Callister and Row. Whispers turn into questions. Did you hear? The janitor? Seriously, she designed that? But what nobody knows is how it truly happened. That project, the one that stunned the CEO, hadn't accidentally landed on his desk. Joyce had left it there on purpose, not for credit, but to test something deeper, not just her skills, but whether this company could recognize genius without a title. The night before, after everyone had gone home, Joyce stayed behind on the 32nd floor, the old brainstorming lounge, where junior teams used to joke about her sneaking in to clean too early. The overhead lights flickered. The walls were stained with half-erased ideas. She sat alone at the corner table, an untouched cup of coffee beside her. She laid the plans out, smoothed the pages. They were the best work she had created since Lauren died. Then she slipped the design into a clean folder, no name, no logo, and left it on the 34th floor. If it was good enough, it would speak. If not, no one would ever know it was hers. But she never expected what would happen next. Fast forward to the moment. The CEO had just slammed his hand on the table. I want the architect, the real one, now. Everyone else freezes, avoiding eye contact. And from the back of the room comes the soft sound of a janitor's cart. Joyce stops pushing, takes a deep breath, and raises her hand. At first, no one understands. A few scoff nervously. Some think it's a joke, but her hand stays up, steady and certain. Damon stares, then walks toward her again. You're saying this is yours? Yes, Ishi says. I've been invisible for a long time, but that design, it's everything I am. Everything you've never seen. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't mock her. He looks at her like a man recognizing something he didn't know he was missing. And right then, the power dynamic shifts. Her name is on everyone's lips now, Joyce Miller. Some rush to look her up online. Others just whisper, trying to remember if they'd ever really looked her in the eyes. But nobody knows who she truly is. As Damon asks her to walk through the technical details of the project, something else starts to unfold. Because before the specs, Joyce shares her story. I was born in Newark, New Jersey. My dad was a carpenter. Mom worked in elder care. I grew up around sawdust and work boots. My dad used to say, everything with building starts with a strong foundation, even people. She pauses briefly, then continues. By 14, I was sketching buildings in my school notebooks. At 17, I earned a full scholarship to MIT. I thought it was my dream coming true. But even there, I learned that being good wasn't enough. I had to be flawless. And even then, I was still treated like an exception. Her voice doesn't crack. It stays strong but carries decades of pressure. I graduated with top honors, won awards, opened my own firm, got a few contracts, but every time I walked into a boardroom, they asked if I was the assistant, not the architect. A few eyes dropped to the table. Nobody can deny it. They'd all made the same assumptions. Then came the weight of it all. My daughter Lauren was my light, 6 years old. She loved buildings. I'd take her to sites, let her sketch beside me. One day, I was sick. She rode along with my former business partner to a location. He ran a red light. There was an accident. She died instantly. He survived. A sharp inhale from someone in the back. Joyce lets the words breathe. After that, I disappeared. I couldn't stand the sight of blueprints. Couldn't think, couldn't speak. I took this janitor job because it let me be invisible. But I never stopped drawing, at night, alone, quietly, like I was still showing my daughter the buildings I dreamed of. Damon sits still, not blinking. That's why this building looks different. Because it came from grief, from memory, from love. One executive mutters under his breath, "A Jesus." And that's when Damon pulls something from a folder. "This is your formal offer," he says. Lead architect, full control of the Boston project. But before she can accept, Sandra leans in. "Wait, you're really going to put her in charge of a multi-million-dollar design?" Damon turns to her, his voice cutting through the air like a scalpel. "No, I'm putting the architect in charge. The one you and this entire company ignored for 5 years." Joyce doesn't gloat. She just smiles softly, like someone finally stepping into their own skin. That night, Joyce goes home later than usual. Her apartment in Harlem is small, worn around the edges, but clean and peaceful, a quiet sanctuary, not filled with things, but with survival. She places her janitor's uniform over the back of a kitchen chair, then sits at the edge of her bed and pulls out a weathered cardboard box from under the wardrobe. Inside are the remains of a life most people would never guess belonged to her: MIT degree, framed awards, letters of recommendation from top architects, and folded neatly at the very top, a child's crown drawing, a building shaped like a flower with a note scribbled in pink pencil: "A mummy, I want to live in something you design. Lauren." Joyce touches the paper gently, smiling through tears. She picks up a dusty photo frame hidden behind books on her shelf. Lauren's beaming face fills it, tiny braids, denim overalls, holding a safety helmet twice her size. That photo is Joyce's fuel, the thing that kept her drawing through the grief, through the nights when even breathing felt impossible. But the world hadn't just taken her daughter. It had erased Joyce, too. After the accident, the headlines barely mentioned her. The man responsible, her former business partner, Brian Bloom, walked away free. He took her contacts, her designs, her reputation. He even used one of her unreleased concepts to launch a new firm that won city contracts. Joyce didn't fight it. She was too broken. "I vanished," she whispers to herself, staring at the photo. Because this world doesn't let women like me start over. Not twice. And yet, something had shifted. That morning, meeting with Damon, the recognition, the room that had finally seen her, and more than that, the unspoken promise she made to Lauren. Joyce opens her old sketchbook, the one she kept hidden. She flips past half-finished ideas until she lands on a blank page. With a pencil, she draws a new building, a flower rising from concrete. At the top of the page, she writes, "F for all the voices that were silenced before they could be heard." The next morning, she walks back into Callister and Row, not with a mop, but with purpose. And when she enters the design floor wearing her new badge that reads a creative consultant, people don't know whether to stare, smile, or hide. Because now, Joyce isn't just the woman they overlooked. She is the truth they can no longer ignore. That Tuesday, every senior designer at Callister and Row is summoned to the top floor conference room. The energy is thick. Something is coming. Damon stands at the front, arms crossed, facing the room of architects and project leads. And next to him, seated calmly with nothing but a worn leather sketchpad in her hand, is Joyce. This time, no uniform, just a clean black blouse, hair pulled back. No need for armor. She has become one. Some scoff quietly. Others exchange doubtful glances until Damon finally speaks. "You've all had weeks to submit designs for the Boston Innovation Center. So far, I've seen nothing but half-baked concepts and recycled thinking." He looks around the room. So, here's what we're going to do. You each get 60 minutes. No teams, no software, just brains, vision, and paper. The challenge: create a space that merges sustainability, public accessibility, and architectural boldness inside a highly restricted urban zone. Then, turning to Sandra, who still sits stiffly in the back, he adds, and yes, Joyce will participate. Whispers push back. Seriously, she's not even in our division. This is ridiculous. But Damon doesn't flinch. Anyone who's afraid to compete with raw talent is welcome to hand in their badge now. The room quiets. Joyce opens her sketch pad. No laptop, no internet, no noise. She closes her eyes for a moment and then starts to draw. Her pencil glides with fluid confidence. While others scramble for rulers and reference books, Joyce's design flows as if it had always existed inside her, waiting for this exact moment. Time ticks away. Some walk behind her to peek, trying to steal ideas. Some whisper that her method is outdated, too hands-on. But when the hour ends and Damon asks her to present first, no one is ready for what they see. She walks to the board and pins up her drawing, a public research center with elevated gardens, solar reflective glass, natural ventilation corridors, and a central atrium shaped like an open flower. Inspired by my daughter's drawing, Joyce says. It's not just a building. It's a healing space. A place where communities feel welcome, not boxed out. Silence. Damon scans the room. Anyone here have something more original, more visionary, more human? No one speaks. Not even Sandra. The silence that follows Joyce's presentation isn't from disbelief anymore. It is from discomfort. People in that room, people with six-figure salaries and framed degrees, are forced to confront a truth they don't want to admit. They had been outclassed, not by a rival, but by someone they never considered competition. Sandra, still seated in the back, crosses her arms tightly, her voice dripping with passive aggression. It's a nice concept, sure, but it's not practical. A good sketch doesn't mean it's structurally sound. Damon turns to her slowly. You're saying the most visionary design I've seen in 5 years needs your approval to matter? She stammers. I'm saying we need to follow protocol. He steps closer. No, you're saying you still can't accept that you overlooked a genius. You filed her resume, ignored her credentials, and let her clean our offices while she quietly outdesigned every architect in this building. The room freezes. Nobody comes to Sandra's defense, because deep down, they are all part of it, all guilty of looking past Joyce, of seeing a mop instead of a mind. Damon walks to the head of the room and places a formal folder on the table. This is Joyce's promotion paperwork. She's now the lead designer for the Boston project. Joyce remains seated. She doesn't smile. She doesn't gloat. She just exists fully in the space they told her wasn't hers. Sandra pushes back one last time. So what? Now we're hiring janitors to run creative departments? What's next? Letting the interns build the foundations? The room turns to Joyce. She looks Sandra in the eye, then calmly says, and maybe the next step is teaching executives how to see below their own ceilings. The line hits hard. Even Damon lets out the slightest grin. He turns back to Sandra. Sandra, thank you for your service, but your view of leadership doesn't fit the future we're building. You're dismissed. Effective immediately. Sandra's jaw drops, but she knows the room has shifted, and she is no longer in control. As she walks out, Joyce stands, and for the first time, she walks through that floor, not to scrub its corners, but to reshape its future. 2 days later, Joyce is called to the firm's private boardroom. It's all glass and skyline, the kind of space she'd only ever cleaned, never been invited into. Damon stands waiting, a sleek folder in his hand with her name printed in gold lettering. "The board approved your promotion," he says. "As of now, you're officially Senior Creative Director for the Boston Initiative. You'll be managing a team of over 50. Joyce takes a breath, looks out at the Manhattan skyline, and then shakes her head slightly. "I accept, but I have one condition." Damon raises an eyebrow. "I'm listening." She places her own folder on the table. "Nothing fancy. Inside are portfolios, notes, names. I want to build my own team, not just the usual suspects. I want people like me, people who never got the chance because they didn't come from the right school or wear the right clothes." Damon listens, intrigued. "You're talking about recruiting outside the system?" "No," Joyce says. "I'm talking about breaking the system open. There's a woman in Queens designing public playgrounds by hand, but she's never had a formal interview. There's a Haitian immigrant in Brooklyn with an accredited architecture degree, but is hauling cement on construction sites. There's a teen in the Bronx who rebuilt his entire block's community garden with no funding, no recognition, just raw vision." She looks Damon in the eye. "I want them, because the future shouldn't be built by people who only know the top floor. It should be built by those who understand the foundation." Damon takes a moment, then slowly closes the gold-lettered folder. "All right, let's build it your way." And with that handshake, Joyce doesn't just accept a title. She rewrites the rules. The following week, Callister and Rowe introduces a brand new design division. The team wears simple clothes, carries backpacks, not briefcases, but their work, revolutionary. And every single badge they wear carries the same symbol at the bottom, a root project. Talent grows here. Months later, the crowd gathers in downtown Boston. Reporters, architects, politicians, students, and people you don't usually see at ribbon-cutting ceremonies, sanitation workers, cafeteria cooks, night shift nurses, the ones who clean up after the speeches. But today, they are front row. Because this isn't just another corporate unveiling. This building means something, a center for innovation and public access, a space designed to be used, not just admired, a building that doesn't look like it was dropped onto the community from above, but like it had grown from the ground up. On the stage, Damon stands with a MIC in hand. "When I first saw the blueprint for this place, I thought it was impossible. Then I met the person who designed it, and I realized what was really impossible was continuing to pretend that talent only looks one way." He turns toward the side of the stage. "Please welcome our lead architect, founder of the Root Project, Joyce Miller." Applause erupts, loud, long, real. Joyce steps up slowly. She wears a simple navy blue dress, hair pulled back, a small white flower pinned to her shoulder, just like the ones Lauren used to draw. She takes the MIC, pauses, and then begins. "I spent years cleaning the floors of this industry, but the hardest part wasn't the mop. It was being unseen, every day, walking through a building I dreamed of designing, knowing no one saw me." The crowd is silent, hanging on every word. "This center is for my daughter, Lauren. She believed in me even when I didn't. She once told me she wanted to live in something I designed. And now, she does." Joyce looks out across the community members who have gathered, mothers holding children, local artists, school teachers, dreamers, fighters. This isn't just architecture. This is redemption. This is a place that says, "We see you. We value you. We built this for and with you." When she steps down from the stage, She doesn't go to the VIP tent. She walks straight to the Root Project team, architects from every background, every neighborhood. And before entering the building, she takes off her badge, turns it over, and writes in pen, a for Lauren. We built this together. That day, a new blueprint is born, not for buildings, but for what's possible. If you believe in stories that inspire, challenge, and give voice to those who are often unheard, hit that subscribe button below. More powerful journeys are coming on *Whisper Fable*, and would love to have you with us.